Right, well, earlier in the programme, I asked people to phone in or text in, tell me what they're up to. And we have a surprising caller on the line, because those who couldn't sleep, who might have been listening on Saturday morning, would have heard John Ashe phone up and promised me he'd never phone again. And I did ask him to phone back. It looks like he's on the line. John, are you there?
Just a minute. Just trying to get this to dissolve.
John.
Yep, just a minute, Mark. Sugar. Takes a long time to dissolve.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I'm making myself a cup of coffee, and I was just dissolving the sugar. But you can't just put it in, can you? You have to get a spoon and whiz it round quite a lot, and then it's all dissolved. See, that's my chemistry background.
Right, okay.
Yes, John Ashe here. That's right, Mark. John Ashe with an E from Basingstoke. Good to speak to you again, although actually, officially, I'm not calling in today because of what happened last time.
Well, look, John, I said it was fine. I mean, those who were listening did hear you say that you were in 24/7 Wetherspoons, which you later told me wasn't true. But I said that doesn't matter. It's still lovely to hear your voice.
Well, it wasn't true in a strict sense, but it had a sort of kernel of truth.
Right.
In the sense that it ought to be true.
Right. Well, look, thank you for calling in today. Nice that you didn't take it personally, and lovely to hear from you again.
Well, as I say, I'm officially not really calling in. I'm not calling in. Let me make that clear, because I haven't quite decided whether I'm going to resume my regular calling in. So please understand that this is not a real, not an official calling in because of that embarrassment. And I'm very grateful to you for being so understanding. But until I've worked these things through in my conscience, I shan't be calling in. Right,
okay. Well, have you got... what are you up to today, John? Are you having a good day?
Yes, I've just been for a walk. I've just made myself a cup of coffee, and I've dissolved some sugar. So those three things have been quite beneficial, quite enjoyable today. And I've also been contemplating what you've been talking about, these various themes to do with the day itself.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think you said World Lobster Day, and I think you also said World Farm Assist Day, and World Brain Day, and World Comic Day.
That's right.
And I've been thinking about all of those in some detail.
Okay. Well, what are your thoughts then, John?
Well, my thoughts are, I feel very sorry for lobsters, I have to say, because I understand that they get cooked while they're alive. Well, they do in some places anyway, and you can hear them scream, so I'm told. Although I'm also told that's not necessarily the sound of them screaming vocally, but the gases coming out of their armour. But it's not a very nice thought, but I do like the taste of lobster very much. I'm not very keen on them in the flesh, as it were.
Right.
Or in the crust, as it might also be, because they're walking sideways, which I always find is a little subversive, really.
Right. So you don't like animals, so in that sense you don't like eating crab either, I guess?
No, I don't like eating crab. I like eating crab, but I also don't like the fact that they walk sideways. Any animal that walks sideways, I give a sideways look at.
Right, okay, yes.
Apply a weird sort of metaphor to something more concrete.
So you're happy to eat an animal that walks sort of backwards or forwards or possibly diagonally, but not sideways?
Absolutely, yes. Okay. It's the sidewaysness that I do find a little bit objectionable.
Okay.
So if you know of any other creatures that walk sideways, then I should put them on my list of foods to avoid. There
is the snake, the sidewinder snake, I suppose. Have you in some countries that eat snakes?
Well, I have to say that snakes are on my list of things not to eat anyway.
Right.
It doesn't have to just be sidewaysness that determines this.
Okay.
I mean, if they don't taste very nice, I'm not going to eat them, am I?
True. What about the other days that we had a little chat about earlier in the show?
Yes, indeed, Farm Assist Day. Well, I've always felt very sorry for people who work on farms. I mean, my parents, really, well, I got to know them through my parents, so this is way back in the 1970s, really, I suppose. They were very friendly with some people who owned a farm. And there were some lovely people who worked there, very low wages. They lived on the premises, they didn't have their own property, and they would work there for year after year, never raising a mortgage or anything like that. And I had very great respect for the very hard work that they did on such low wages, and they were so cheerful. I think this is the most remarkable thing.
Yeah,
so
John.
The idea that there should be a day to celebrate farm assists is very commendable.
Actually, John, sorry to interrupt you there. It's actually It's actually pharmacist, as in chemist.
Well, I don't mind how you pronounce it. I know that Americans tend to stress the first syllable, don't they, of any term? So pharmacist is absolutely fine. But I tend to, of course, being British, as I'm sure you can tell from my accent, and my interest in science. But I would say pharmacist rather than farm assist. But you see, I'm not an American.
Right. What about the other days, John? Because we've got World Comic Day. How about that?
It's a great idea. Great idea. In principle.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it ought to be, well, you have to be very careful with these things, because not all comics are alike, or as the Americans would say, all comics are not alike, which I think is technically incorrect if you look at it logically. But not all comics are alike. I mean, take Bernard Manning, for example. He's not all alike, is he? I mean, if I were to say that I used to listen to him, that would give the wrong impression.
Right.
Because, if something's playing in the background in a room and you happen to hear it, then I suppose you have to say that you listened to it. And if it was in the past, then you used to listen to it. However, I don't want to give the impression that was regular. It was very irregular, but I did sometimes move into a room where somebody like Bernard Manning was playing, and I'd be horrified. Absolutely horrified.
Yeah.
Not that I haven't heard words, rudenesses like that before or since, but or in the present moment. Probably if I were to turn the television on, there'd probably be a rudeness somewhere. But I do find that sort of thing, it's not that funny. I don't find it funny.
Okay,
so I think it ought not to be just comic day in general, but nice comics or polite comics.
Well, actually, I think possibly a slight misunderstanding here. It's comic books. It's comics in the sense of visual comic strips day rather than comedians.
So that would be things like Batman, would it?
Yeah.
Well, it's not funny, is it? I don't find Batman funny. It's dark or gothic. No.
Well, surely the old TV, the old Adam West television series was funny, wasn't it?
Yes, but then you're talking about television series. You're not talking about comics in a magazine or a newspaper, that sort of thing, are you?
No. Okay.
Well, I think that ought to be made clear. I mean, you see, I misunderstood. So this ought to be made clear. So it should be comic brackets, not people like Bernard Manning Day.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, that leaves us with World Dream Day. What's your views on that then, John?
Well, now this is. This occupied me quite a bit on the walk, because I understand that Bernard Manning. So I've got nothing against the man, but having read his autobiography, which just happened to be sitting on a table at the dentist's. Right. Again, I'm sure that's coincidental, whether he had bad teeth or not, I don't know. Anyway, I was reading this autobiography of Bernard Manning, and he was talking about how much he enjoyed fish, and one of his favourite fish was indeed bream. And so it's incredible that should happen on this day, and I'd be thinking about Bernard Manning at the same time. So yes. Well, I like bream too. I'm very keen on any whitefish, but bream is probably near the top of my list of things to eat. And I don't think it walks backwards, sideways. I mean, or backwards. I don't think it walks. I think it swims. Don't they swim, bream? I think they do. Yeah. And there used to be a guitarist called Julian Bream, and I think he used to do quite a bit of moving inside. So yes, an excellent day to celebrate all those things, with the proviso that one change comic to comic brackets that certain people excluded.
John, it's actually World Dream Day. Dream. Right.
So I seem to have made two mistakes. Is that right? Two mistakes.
Not to worry. Not to worry. It's nice to know that you like bream, and that's good. Good bit of information there, John. It
must have been the influence of having read that autobiography that made me think of Bernard Manning, and then I thought of bream, and then when you said, presumably you did say dream rather than bream, I must have thought of bream instead of dream. And I was feeling a bit hungry on my walk as well, and you can't eat dreams, can you?
Well, no, that's a whole new, different kettle of fish, John. You can't eat dreams. That's very true, actually.
No. Although dreams can create reality, apparently, according to a song that I would like to choose.
Oh, okay. All right. What song have you got for us to play?
It's a song by the Everly Brothers. I don't know whether you've ever heard of them. I think they're fairly obscure, aren't they?
No, I have heard of them, and I expect some of our listeners will have heard of them too, John. So,
yes. Yes. Well, they actually predate me. I want to choose a song by them from 1958, I think it is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And, of course, I couldn't possibly have danced to that as a young man when it first came out. I couldn't, of course, even have danced as a fetus because that would have predated conception. So that wouldn't even have been possible. As you know, that I was born in 1960, not in 1958 or in 1957, which would have covered the point I was just trying to make.
Okay.
Yes, a wonderful song by them. All I have to do is dream, and therefore, they're implying they can create reality with this, which is false, you see, because I'm a scientist, as you know.
Right.
I told you that I used to be a quantity surveyor, didn't I, Mark? I'm sure I did.
You did. So, okay, well, look, we'll get that on the turntable to you. It's good that you've chosen a song with the word dream in, even though you thought actually it was Bream Day, so that was a bit of a lucky choice of you.
Yes,
lucky choice of
Otherwise
yours,
it would have been bream, 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 bream at the beginning of the song. And my complaint is that it's dream, 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 dream. Will they ever get round to it? And then they say, when I want you in my arms, all I have to do is bream. Dream.
Dream, yes.
Well, ridiculous. From a scientific point of view, absolutely ridiculous. And then they go on to say, only trouble is, gee whiz, which I think identifies this as an American song, gee whiz, I'm dreaming my life away. Ridiculous. Idiots.
Well, of course, John.
Well,
of course, John, you do spend, I think it's a scientific fact, if you're talking science, that you do spend, I think, like a third of your lifetime asleep. And when you're asleep, you do tend to dream a lot. So, take issue, you do dream a third of your life away.
Indeed, but I think this implies this is daydreaming. Because they're saying, when I want you, and I think this is vaguely amorous in intent, when I want you, all I have to do, which implies some sort of volition here, I choose to dream. I don't just say, I think I'll have a sleep now, but no, I daydream, and they're dreaming their life away. You see, I think this is the beginning of the rot with youth,
Right.
People listen to songs like this, and they don't realise they actually have to take action, in various ways, whatever it might be.
Ever been in love, John?
No, I can't say that I have, actually. I'm married. I'm a very happily married man. At least my wife is. And, yes, but I wouldn't actually say that it's... Love is a bit of a strong word, isn't it? I think companionship and shared enthusiasms.
Okay.
Accepting new cars and polo sticks and indeed stilts. And most of my hobbies, actually. Well, pretty much everything, actually. Still, we get along.
Okay.
We get along sometimes. Well... Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's
she's out most of the time.
Right. Okay, John. Well, let's leave that for another time. I mean, I do. Well, thank you for calling in. And although you did say you won't be calling in, so this is a sort of unofficial call, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Please thank me for not calling in. Yes, I haven't called in officially. No.
Anybody you'd like? Well, sorry.
I don't want any of your listeners to think that I have called in. Please disabuse them of that misunderstanding immediately.
Well, if you say you had called in, would you like to give a shout out to somebody if you had chosen a record?
Yes, if we were speaking conditionally, then had I phoned in, then I would be saying, could we call out to Maud this week, please? Conditionally, were that the case.
All right, we'll do that for you. Well, conditionally. All right, John, lovely to speak to you. Or not speak to you, as the case may be. And possibly not speak to you again next week.
Possibly, yes. So, yes, indeed. Great show, Mark. Great, almost to, provisionally, not even provisionally, but conditionally not to have spoken to you today. Yes, indeed. It's been a pleasure in the sense of not having been a pleasure because I didn't do it. And, yes, hope to possibly speak to you in future when I've resolved this crisis inside my mind. Great show, though, Mark. Bye.
Cheers, John. Bye.
Darren's Valley's radio station.